This is a test video, my first upload to YouTube, trying to figure it out. I want to introduce my brand, Joan's Voice, and with a view to distributing my product, which will be a sort of non-fiction, creative non-fiction, mixed media. So I want to tell my story uh, with about my experience with essentially telling truth to power, which Noam Chomsky says is a bad idea because power already knows truth and doesn't care. And while I can see that point, I do think there's still a reason to tell truth. There's actually never a good reason to stop telling truth. And except that, often in societies all over the globe, of course, not just in the Western, certainly not just in Canada, where I live, but there is a repression of free speech, freedom of expression, that people comply with because of intimidation and also in order to keep their jobs and keep their place in communities. And power in the world is certainly not held only by or even primarily by the government. It's often held as much by anti-government. So, what people would call organized crime, or even, organized terrorist criminal groups, that sort of thing. So speaking truth to power can mean opposing the oppressions a community or society experiences from those sorts of anti-government movements. Freedom of expression, which is protected by law in Canada, officially, is important because not so that we can, speak the truth with our families and with our friends or even with our colleagues, but so we can speak out against what we see as what is wrong with government. That's the real reason free speech is protected and why it's so important in a society in which it is protected by law. In democratic societies, in countries like China, of course, it's criminalized. It's against the law. And the avenues for influencing government are different in countries where there are not free elections or elections that are called free, where that has a different meaning. But in a country like Canada, where we practice democracy and we have a rule of law, human rights, freedom, and we elect governments to administer our rule of law and our freedoms under the Charter, we have freedom of expression protected precisely so that we can point out when we see corruption in government. Because corruption in government, so, intimidation in civil service or the offering of bribes, the kind of thing that has been alleged at the recent Charbonneau inquiries, it threatens freedom, and that's why freedom of expression is so important. So I'm going to tell you in short videos that I'm going to upload to YouTube about my experience with bringing forth what have been really very respectful, innocent complaints about what I initially thought were just isolated, and what I've discovered through that process. And I'm going to do that through Joan's Voice, and I will direct people to a website that I'm creating, and Twitter and Facebook and all the other circles and so on, Google circles. Okay,